Yo, Dan. How you doing? I hope the sound's good. I hope everything works out. I'll have to keep checking. I'm not putting in the DVR. It's hot as hell in this room. But I'll happily answer questions. If I can think of something to play that won't trigger off the horrifying content ID management system, then I will do so. Although I do find it doesn't tend to help. Yeah, probably could do something from the 78 collection. Something that's not publicly known yet is the 78 collection has a playlist feature. Fucking finally. We have a playlist feature active that's actually possible to start doing awesome stuff like that. Let's put something up. Let's see what we have here. Thank you, Miss Kitty. Mr. Kitty. Kitty. Don't be surprised I'm on YouTube. I will do anything. I'll happily use other people's money. Let Google cover the streaming costs. Hey Jason, what are you doing? Asks somebody. So I had the opportunity, I helped clean out a range of shipping containers. And my friend who had all those shipping containers, throughout his life, he wrote out to amazing companies, hundreds of companies, for their information. So he actually has a very large, very interesting collection of junk mail, and he's like, yeah, let's just throw that all out. And I said, throw it out. So I took it, and this is it. And so I am quickly packing it up. You can see there's 3 boxes here, and these are all. I'm now repacking these things from other collections and shoving them in here, and they're going to go store at the Internet Archive while I arrange for funding to get them done up as scanned items. So here's a 1977 Radio Shack flyer for lots of cool Radio Shack horseshit. So I'm gonna scan that eventually. Thanks again for your donations. Always appreciated. Let's see. Like I said, I'll happily answer questions about what I'm doing. Primarily, though, I am focusing right now on these boxes because I've got a couple volunteers coming to the shipping container tomorrow. Huge collections of data sheets, everything from computers. For instance, here's one for something called a graphicon, which is, as far as I can tell, a touch pad or a drawing pad where you could actually do drawings on a tablet with a pen. This is all circa, I believe, 1966, 67. Cost $9,600, probably 66, 67. Like I said, I'm focusing primarily on just getting this stuff into boxes that I can then mail to the archive. Any one of these things is amazing. So when we do have them scanned, here's a vitamin catalog for purchasing your vitamins for scientific purposes. What I'm doing is I'm trying to focus on getting the things stuffed in as absolutely intense as possible, because they may have to sit for a few months or up to a year until I find time or bandwidth to have some people take items and scan them. Have a huge variety of neat stuff. Let's see. I see got 10 people watching. A guy box a bunch of videos. The Radio Shack one, ironically, is just a little bit too weirdly covered. Here's a little IBM document where you can really see kind of the neat artwork that's contained in these things for when it's scanned. Again, you know, I mean, I'm sure a part of you is like, scan them right now, and I'm like, that's the problem, is my life is a constant set of this Gordian knot of having to choose which things get my priority on any given day. unfortunately. Here's something which is called How to Use Rotary Stepping Switches, which is pretty amazing when you consider how thick that book is. But damn if it isn't an actual walkthrough of how stepping switches work and how you should use them. I'm going to set that aside for my friend who works in the phone museum. Okay. So this one's now thick enough. This is empty. Yep. Garbage. Let's go with this one. Bovine Ignition Systems is the name of the band that I had in high school with my friend Jeremy, which the name of why we did that is actually, if you look up Bovine Ignition Systems, there's a blog entry about like the whole set of reasons why that name came about. Basically, we were in a band. We wanted to give ourselves funny band position names instead of singer, keyboardist. So we went with different. I remember one of the fake job titles was Rodent Manifestation Supervisor, and one of the other ones was Bovine Ignition Supervisor, and we thought that was so funny that we renamed our band to Bovine Ignition Systems. Bovine Ignition Systems produced one album in 17, and it was good. I enjoyed it. The other bandmate, I went on to computer stuff and did not stick with music as much. My bandmate Jeremy, he actually went to work for Microsoft, and then he joined an 80s revival band. While he had done that, he worked for Valve. He actually worked on Flight Simulator for Microsoft. He actually went out and did a whole bunch of music. So, dude's still out there, did a whole bunch of music. His name's Jeremy Stone. Anyway, when I started to do documentaries, I needed a business name. So I went with Bovine Ignition Systems because I thought the name was just too good not to keep around. And that's how that happened. All right. These boxes are relatively thirsty. They pull out pretty quickly, so hopefully I won't have to do too many of these. Man, I get so many people who want to ask me questions normally. And I'm always funny on these streams because I think people like hearing me, but they don't really want to ask a question. So, again, I'm more than happy to answer weird-ass questions. More than happy. So, this is my room where I live. I'm in the process right now of trying to get rid of almost everything that I own, or have it assigned off to other locations. Have a minimum of items that are in my home, and to make myself more portable, and get rid of items that I am holding for the purposes of history. Firehawk asks, how do you manage the stress level? There's not much stress per se. I mean, I have a little bit of financial stress on and off over the years, but I actually make a good wage. It's just tax bills and medical bills kind of sideswiped me pretty badly this time around. When I was hit with a $35,000 tax bill, I worked with an accountant, got it down to $25,000, and had to deal with a couple other medical things. Another box ready. But that, and I was making the mistake of, and this typical, I really made the mistake of covering a lot of things myself that I really should have been asking others to. So, like a group would have me send them a bunch of items and I would pay all the shipping. And that was silly. Like all I was doing was mailing things to other people. There's no reason for me to pay for the shipping when they're just going to get piles of free things. So right now I'm in the process of, these are all going to go to the archive, and the archive is going to cover the shipping. I just never asked how you do that. They told me, and now I know. Again, these are all fascinating items. Some of them do have mold. So you can see here, a little bit of mold on the piece. So I don't know how well that one's going to last. Weird Motorola newsletter called Collage. Anyway, so I'm now just obliterating these piles, get them out of my life. Here's graph pad, which is some crazy drawing on a clear screen for a digital corporation. Walks you right through the process. Again, my plan is to scan all these. I'm not particularly, I mean, some people get very like, why would anyone want this? And I found that people love to scan these, love to like look at this stuff. So this is just straight up house garbage. So since I switched to essentially a vegan diet with I think I had meat twice in the last 3 months. One time because I was in a restaurant that was a really good restaurant that I was being taken to, and I felt really bad about just ordering plants. The other time because I was eating something and it called itself vegetable chili, and I thought it was vegetarian chili. And then I got it and I was like, oh. As a particularly process-focused person, anal, you might say, I tend to focus. Well, here, I'll do this. I'm hearing something about, why don't you get the mic closer to you? Let's do this. Let me know if that's better. It takes it a couple seconds. I've turned up the gain. So, is this better? Is this better? Is this better? I'll hear from you when it is. Mostly I'm transferring things from really old, moldy boxes to brand new or new-ish boxes. Again, so many of these are like these laid out pieces as soon as I get enough larger ones here. So right now this is a relatively boring process of what I'm doing. You'll see me lay more and more things out as I go. Here's an example of something I just picked up, which I'm now going to get rid of. An entire Geiger counter. Yeah, Geiger counter. I thought, wow, I think I'll grab a Geiger counter. That was stupid. I don't need a Geiger counter. I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to try donating it to Goodwill. What happens when you donate a Geiger counter to Goodwill? Do I get in the papers? The shipping address for donating items to the Internet Archive is 300 Funston Avenue, Funston Avenue, San Francisco, California, 94118. Okay. Thanks again to everyone who's throwing bucks in. That's very appreciated. Right now I'm down to about $50 in my bank account, which is not a good sign. You're not supposed to be 46 and have 50 bucks. I do want to point out, when I don't go into my finances all that time, but I mean, bear in mind I do have a 401k, I do have an IRA, I do have other items. there's good money in there. I just can't take it out. It's for when I'm older and I'm busted and out of no use to the workforce. Then I'm ostensibly I can grab from it, but I don't have that right now. Part of what I'm doing here is I'm cleaning up my room so that I'm not going insane. And I'm trying to put away items that are, this whole set of items is going to a museum. This is being donated. I'm going to put that right here for now. Donated. This is a set of camera lenses and other items that I had been keeping outside. They're going to be rescued, reused. A whole variety of recording for my documentary work and for photography. So let me get that all straightened out. Well, good. It's all pretty much, all of it is camera equipment. That's positive. With one exception. Here's the kind of important stuff I keep around all the time. In case I want to go from 32 to 9-pin serial. Damn, son. Gotta make it work, huh? Okay, so the Super Mario talk was interesting. That was part of a, see, completely empty. This is, this will probably be given some things that will be stored in. I gave a talk about Super Mario a long time ago, 10 years ago. And so it's less about, I was at, he's asking, so are you going to do more things like that? And so, that's about, like, that's not kind of how I do talks. I do talks based on, like, on that particular case, I had some kind of lingering thoughts about the design choices of Super Mario and what could be learned about it. And I was speaking at an event called Nauticon, where I was kind of like a quasi-fixture. And so the question was, hey, in case you, also I got piles of Heavy Metal magazine, in case you're like, oh, I really wish somebody had Heavy Metal magazine. So I agreed to do that talk, just because I was like, I know a little bit about it, let's give a talk. That was kind of like the motivation. So when I finished it, it was like, okay, on to the next thing. Like, I wasn't really like, finally, my dream. Does this fit? What do you think? Yeah, I think it'll fit. So, I don't know if I'll give more video game talks anytime soon. Like I said, I was mostly motivated by, oh, it's time to give a subject. I mean, some of my subjects have been like, I have a little extra time. You'll notice that I've really cut back on my talking schedule. I'll only do 3 or 4 or 5 a year now for the moment. And that's primarily because I want to get a bunch of other stuff done. When I've run out of things that need my time, I will probably agree to do more talking and traveling and use it as an excuse. But right now I'm very busy getting stuff done, like really busy. So in terms of video games, I play almost exclusively Halo 5. I played Watch Dogs 2 until Watch Dogs 2 ran out of things for me to do. I have Steven's Sausage Roll. Been playing a lot of that lately. I have a couple boxes. I have a couple games that are sitting for me to like use when I'm like unbelievably sad someday and I want to sit down and just enjoy a game. And one of them is Quadrilateral Cowboy. But that's about it. I think I usually tend to play one game a lot. Any other questions? Thank you for 6. It is super hot in here. Oh hey, it's just about time for me to take my pills. I can show you my pills. So as many of you know, I had a heart attack this year. Actual heart attack. Right here. Blocked coronary artery. Blocked off. I actually have a couple other blockages, but they were minor. Cut off blood flow to the heart. Wasn't cool. Got operated on. Have a stent put in there. Now I'm working on getting healthier, although as you can, well, maybe you can't. I don't know. Not a very flattering angle. But in case you're wondering, my height of weight about 2 years ago was 240 pounds. I currently weigh 203 pounds. I'm trying for 180. We'll see if it happens. Here's my collection of pills. So on Thursday, you can see, let's see, there we go. So you can see I have 5 pills I currently take. Oh. Delicious. Anyway, so there's like a statin in there. There's one to reduce blood pressure. There's one to reduce clotting. There's one to change the shape of the heart, I was told. Although I can't tell. That woman was a little weird. So you can't see it because of the thing. This is another pile. So what you see right here is a friend of mine who collects Atari and I have made a deal. I'm going to just hand him all of my Atari items. So let's quickly review here. Here is a slightly keys missing Atari 800. Here we have not one, but 2 Atari 1050 drives, including one with the storage paper still in it. The weird plastically futuristic Atari 800 XL. The weirdo Atari 520 ST. Tried so hard to look like an Amiga. Or maybe the Amiga tried so hard to look like it. Then this crazy fucking thing. The Atari 1025 printer. Full online printer. So, I have to derive and find boxes that will serve. I actually have an Atari 400 sitting in the container that's going to join this pile. There we go. So that's like a project pile. That's going to go out like in the next little bit of time. So then I'm going to put, you can see how I'm constantly trying to rearrange things. I do this digitally too. There's my donation pile. I really cleaned this room out, so I don't have a whole lot of donation items. I have boxes that are destined for various locations. Time for another box. Stream still bad or stream getting better? How about now? Better? You know, part of the reason why I did this the way I did it is that it sends less data. Let me do this. There. I've actually made this smaller, so it's pushing less bandwidth. Let's put my lovely chair back. Funny story about the chair. Some people might not know about this chair. I bought this chair from a company called Geek Chic a number of years back. It took them 1 year to make the chair. It's called the 8-hour chair. It's a beautifully designed ergonomic wooden chair that is one of my prized possessions. I've tried to make it, I mean, even though it looks like my room is a complete and utter mess right now, I've actually tried to make it that I have extremely small amounts of possessions, and as I'm starting to slam through items to get rid of them, I am getting, I only keep a couple really nice, beautiful objects. You know, a really nice bed, since I sleep on a really nice bed. My computer is a little out of date. When I have money again, I intend to buy some ridiculous overpowered computer, probably some insane thing from Alienware. I always like their stuff. You know, I have like a computer that does some work or whatever. And then almost everything else in here is something being held to speak for something else. And so my aggressive work this year is to get rid of all these to-do items. So I'm actually moving rather fast on that. One of the things I'm doing is I am going through a pile of Macintosh disks. So if you look at this item right here, that's going, and this is going. So this is one item, this is the other, part of a pair of Apple II floppies that were sent to me to be imaged. I've imaged most of them. They're about to be mailed out to 4 a.m. the Cracker, the ones I couldn't image. And I cannot begin to tell you how many more of these I have waiting to go. So again, here's more mail from the mail collection. Pull them out of this crappy box. Just a lot of interesting mail. If you go to digitize.textfiles.com, you can see some of my mail collection. My mail collection is right there. I'll show it to you in a little bit, assuming people want to see it. There's something to be said for, at the time, writing out to a bunch of companies. All right. So now I have that pile. That's on there. So then I can take these. This was a lot of junk mail that I picked up from this guy, and it was starting to eat up my room. It was from multiple trips. But there's all sorts of beautiful little pieces. So for Firehawk, that address, if you put my name on it, it will go to me. If you don't put my name on it, they will process it as a standard external donation to the endeavor. So they'll look at it and they'll go, oh, it's a bunch of X, and they'll make some decision. Now, if you put like a bunch of software in there, it might still go to me. But if you put like a bunch of books in there, I might never see it. It would end up with another group. So that's that answer. So the answer is, you could always put Jason Scott, care of the Internet Archive. The connection between hackers and InfoSec people and lockpicking is that lockpicking is kind of a boiled down metaphor for a lot of what hacking is. You know, it's a preformed machine that has all sorts of functional efforts in it to like prevent access, and so therefore by utilizing a variety of methods you're able to get that access. That's basically it. I mean, that's my opinion. I don't know if there's anything else to it other than that. It has had applied to it the same level of attention and documentation and writing that everything else in hacking and InfoSec has gotten. So that's what I think. Europeans hating me in my BBS documentary. Oh, the BBS documentary is a United States documentary. It's primarily about the U.S. It's U.S. people. It's because that's what I could afford. I went to 30 states over the course of 4 years. I interviewed so many people. There were a few people who were from other countries who I happened to interview, but they were all expats. That's why. So Europeans tend to get very angry because they say it's called the BBS documentary, but it only mentions the U.S. Therefore, it sucks. I should mention there are a few old-time BBS people who also hate the documentary because it fails to mention their ridiculous little community in any detail, which if they look at it carefully, it never mentions any community in heavy detail because it was meant to be about the entire metaphor of the world of the computer bulletin board. But you know, that's fine. Hate is gonna hate. I'm not you know, not gonna kill myself over that. So but that's where that comes from. That's fine. As for me visiting Jason going to Europe, I'm going to be in the Netherlands. I'm going to be in Austria for a month in September. So I'm in Austria for a month. I have a shooting schedule. I'm in a movie. It's a feature film. I play a part. I then go and speak at something called the Frontiers Hacking Conference in the Netherlands on October 4th and 5th. And I'm trying to think if there's any other places I'm set for. Not really. I'm going to Buffalo in like a couple weeks. You know, a long time ago, I had a buddy who works for MIT, and I was making a lot of money working in computers. And I mentioned to him how I had this money, and he doesn't make much money at all because he was a teacher. And I said, you know, I get to go to all these places. He goes, I get to go to all these places. I just have to expense it. You know, I live a perfectly fine life. And now that I've switched over to what I do, that's what, I agree with him. That's what I do now. So it'll be like, Jason, you're out of money, but you're going to, Montreal. And the answer is, well, somebody's paying for me to come to Montreal. And I treat those as work. I mean, it's very funny because they'll be like, we're flying you in. Are you comfortable with doing this for us? Or will you make an appearance here? And I'm like, you got me. You own me. Use me. So, they'll fly me. They'll push me through a couple parties. They'll have me speak at something. I'll do some interviews. Whatever they want. I don't really, I don't play like you only covered this amount. I do whatever they want to for the time I'm there. Here's a sexy piece that needs to be flattened. It's a whole thing for the 1460 data processing system. It's a very large square one, but it's got some beautiful imagery of computers. So I'd love to put that sucker in there. I am not going to any other event except for the Frontiers Conference in the Netherlands. I don't have any other plans currently. Like every year I think about going to CCC, but CCC is like right over Christmas, New Year's. It's very hard to convince my fiance that's a good idea. There's a couple other events where I'm like, it'd be kind of nice, but again, it's just like, why should I like you got to blow away a holiday or take a long trip to get to it. Here's an example of an item I own from years and years ago. So this is a winter hat, which is why I'm going to wear it for 6 seconds. But I actually wore this in Iceland in front of the waterfalls. It was nice. See, bear in mind, I used to have so much crap. I had so much interesting, weird hats and toys and things. And over the years, I've been dumping them. Oh, you see, like this is medical stuff for my medical work. That's a newspaper. Hopefully this magnetic industrial shift register assembly with full documentation about how it works. See, I'm trying to find something for here, the smaller piece. I just have to get something in there. I don't know if I have any more of that size. Great news, this one is completely empty. I don't have to bother myself with it. Thanks to everyone continuing to throw a few bucks in. Guess I should tweet about it again. I have discovered that there's a weird thing with Twitter now because of all the reweighing. Some people won't see a message. There we go. So I'm not really super qualified to be able to give you an exact time or whatever related to when were women part of and not part of the IT force. With absolutely no question, I think that women have played a part in IT, that is to say computers and processing and putting things. I don't think that has changed for them over the years. I think that continues to be the case. So I don't think that it's like there's a turning point in terms of, suddenly women are not allowed or something. But I do think that there's a pretty notable shift around when women are no longer needed to play the part of really low-level computer stuff. But there's an entire set of dissertations and misery to figure all that out. To figure out because there's ads that have girls in them for early home computers, and then there's not, and then and it's hard to say. It's just really. I'm not qualified. I think there's enough data out there. I think there's ads, and the more ads we put up and the more things we put up, the smarter we're going to get about knowing. But I don't have I'm sorry, I just don't have I'm not qualified. Just flat out not qualified. Well, I just seriously am having trouble finding the right ones to shove in here. I'm going to try this. That'll do. I'll do pig. Here's some crazy hardware catalog. I've got a few of these. These are like crazy. Again, my hair looks crazy because I'm sweating to death in here. I should probably prop open my windows, get some fresh air in here. If you're not, if it's not obvious, I keep blackout curtains on all my windows because I like to work on a schedule not necessarily dictated by the flaming ball of gas. So sometimes I'll work till 7 or 8 in the morning, fall asleep for a few hours. Sometimes I'll fall asleep at 9 or 7 in the evening, wake up, randomly at like 8 in the morning, start working. It's just kind of random. So I don't really, I actually work really hard to have very little modification from what's going on. Let me go open up the door in the hope that this makes a difference, which it might not. Anyway, we can hope, right? I'm packing up a collection of promotional computer flyers sent through the mail from the 1960s up through the 2000s from a private collector. These are what these all are. So they are beautiful historical items. I've been showing them to people. If you've not noticed things like this really nice flyer, it's just thousands of those. These beautiful, beautiful layouts of computers and what they are. So I'm storing them away. So my time is being taken up just with going after static pieces of plastic that are containing video games and stuff, just for like things like the Apple II. Like this is my I couldn't read it pile. This is going to 4 a.m. to be worked with. And you go, well, Jason, that seems like not bad. And then I go, okay, and then here's the set that I was able to read from. And you go, oh, you've done a really good job there. And I go, yeah, I guess I've done a okay job with that. But here is the bin of stuff that I need to go through, which is what I'm going through on my side all this week and the last couple of weeks. And that is only one of probably 20 of those that I'm reading through. So, woo. I don't have any approach to organizing ebooks. I'm like, index the crap out of them and then just search for what you need. But I'm like that. There's MARC records, and you could probably cross pollinate to like what's out there, but I don't do it. Okay, next box. Oh, here's a ridiculous item I bought some time ago. I have a couple of these that I keep stored. And the purpose of this thing is that if I'm organizing software or something, I go like this, and it is a full box ready to go. And then So the idea being that I can keep a couple of those nearby to do storage. We haven't even touched discussion of the CD-ROMs. And there's so many CD-ROMs in my inbox. I'll probably be doing a fundraiser to buy more CD drives. I think I can do 6 simultaneously. I have a lot of them. I have a lot. Here are ones I couldn't read that are going to go to another guy to see if he can read them on his drives. I just couldn't, and I'm starting to get, I think the biggest problem is I'll get on some major project, like let's go through 1,000 of this, and some of them will have some issue. Like in the case of disk drives, it doesn't read them well, or maybe with CDs, they're getting weird errors, or with paper, it's got something on it. And I don't really have a mechanism for setting them aside and saying, I went through them all, but I couldn't do something with them. So I'm now partnering with other people who are willing to take on those more intense, try to figure out how to read them. So I get the majority done, but then I can hand off the rest. So that's a breakthrough of the last few years, is to do that now, with the hope being that people will get the things that they want. I mean, we're all assuming that this has a fundamental interest to the society and people, right? That's my faith-based approach, is surely somebody wants this. So here's an example of something I would normally keep around, but I'm going to send it to the archive because I don't have the time. I set all these aside because they're interesting. They are remarkably interesting. Computer of Average Transients. The Handbook of Industrial Equipment, along with huge amounts of interesting overview of what constituted that time. The United Camera Exchange. This is full examples of 8mm era camera equipment. Thank you for your interest in the documentaries. However, I will not do pre-orders until I am 110% guaranteed that they're coming out. I'm 95% sure they're coming out, but I will not. I just don't want to get more pre-orders and owe people money. Heathkit catalog. There's a scene we don't see. When does that happen? Does that ever happen? Oh, in the back, here are some kids. That's a great little workshop for those 2 kids. Isn't that great? This is back when Heathkit was selling all sorts of interesting stuff. Anyway, beautiful Allied Electronics stuff. So I was going to keep these aside, but they're going to go just to the archive and become to-dos. Here's something again, I'm keeping for my pal XMC, Chronomex. This is a telephone or intercom or both. Why use women's heels? Why not? Beautiful sets of telegrams and telegraphs. Anyway, I'm sending that to my pal to have her digitize them. Okay. Little piles around the room are starting to slowly disappear. That feels good. What's interesting about this collection of stuff to digitize is that it's got computer stuff, but it also has aerospace, and it's got electronics, and it's got film. It's actually a very beautiful cross pollination of all sorts of disciplines. It's very powerful. And you're like, Jason, I'm sad nobody's going to digitize any. But then we have this, just for you all to see it. This is a hand-selected, curated set that I am preparing to mail to a friend who will pay someone to go through them and digitize them. And we'll see how good they look. So that's actually going to happen. Very excited. Thanks again for the money, Frank. That's very appreciated. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Paul. Josh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. I don't have a the Internet Archive's benefits vendor just mailed me a thing saying, good news, your employer has increased its contribution towards your commuter benefits from 0.00 per month to 0.00 per month. I'm going to drop that in the Internet Archive Slack because that makes me laugh. All right. And where are we? And go back to the stream. If anybody has any other questions, I'm happy to answer the questions. I am soaking through this shirt. Wow. Awesome. Good, it means I'm working. It's a great line from the drummer, Buddy Rich. And he had a line that he said to his people, if he worked at a club, he said, if I'm not sweating at the end of my gig, don't pay me, because it means I didn't work. I don't know if I have a particularly strong or not strong work ethic compared to others. Like anybody else, I feel like I procrastinate. I definitely feel like I could do better. I put these in here just for the heck of it, but probably don't need these. Here's that's right, TV guides. Probably not as important. Andrew Singleton is worried about my water. Well, he's lucky. Woo! Hey, so hilarious story. The water in my house is not drinkable, so I don't drink the water here. I always bring in bottled water. I'm one of the few arguments for bottled water. Otherwise, don't do bottled water. Hilarious story how that happened to come, but all right, so I don't know if it's possible to see. Well, I have to see what the let me see what it shows. No, you can see through to it. So I'm basically going to try to turn as much as I can into boxes right here and then mail them out as I go. No, it's not showerable. I use a local health club. So yeah, here's a large amount of useful information about emulation. So we did a bunch of devil's bargains to be able to make emulation work on the Internet Archive. And to do it, we had to put things into certain formats. Now, in an ideal world, the format that you put it up, it has both a long-range permanent format, but also is accessible to our emulator. Doesn't always work that way. So sometimes things have to be cooked. For example, as of the current moment, it's not really possible to put an ISO up and then tell our system, okay, do all the right things with that ISO and have it work. Like you can't take an ISO and just boom, it works on the Internet Archive. So that's a thing, and it's not a great situation, but it's a situation. So if you're uploading something, like what I'll do often is I will upload a very large compilation. So that'll be, essentially a think of it as like a zip file of all these things in their original format with very little changes and everything else, and it'll be in one big fat item, and that'll be it. And then I'll split it apart into something that's more friendly for the emulator. So the idea there is that, we have a little bit of best of both worlds. For people who are like, I'm sick of emulating one or two things, why don't we have it, let's just give me it all, goddammit. So what we do then is we say, oh look, just go to this item, download whatever.zip. This is why, for instance, I just put all the MAME ROMs up. And the MAME ROMs are like 68 gigabytes of ROMs for one set. And so 68 gigs, download that, you've got them all. Then we split them apart into emulatable versions, or ones we're allowed to put up and everything else, and those will be individual, but nobody would want those. They'd want everything. So when it comes to things like MS-DOS, like we want them in zip format because that's what our emulator prefers to work with, because that's what our system pulls apart from. But if you're going to do a lot of these things, it probably is best to take a bunch of raw images, put them into an item, and then piece by piece put up zip versions. So that's actually, by the way, what we're doing currently with the Macintosh collection. We are, as we speak, we are currently putting up a large amount of Macintosh things, but we're putting them up one by one, making sure they absolutely work, and then screenshotting them by hand and so on. And while this means that things aren't as fast and shock and awe as the original MS-DOS was, it doesn't mean everything kind of is verified to work. And we will also put up these massive compilations where we'll put up a hard drive of Macintosh stuff. So you'll end up with a 10 meg image file, but it'll have like 30 things on it. So we're trying all these experiments. But there's absolutely a collection of Macintosh stuff that is like just massive archives. So that's kind of the You know, it's a constant battle to like make it both future oriented and yet playable in the now. And I think being playable in the now is what drives interest in all of this work. I feel like when people have been sending me hard drives or floppies or things, it's partially because they're inspired by the things they can play with now, not by the scant promises that these large other archives will one day have a use. So that's why we do it, and it seems to work pretty well. Hey, here's a random thing. Hey, Jason, why do you use this incredibly old pair of scissors that has a little bit of rust and patina? And the answer is they are scissors from my great uncle who scaled a fence of a concentration camp in the Holocaust, which he avoided, but 7 of my great cousins did not. And he moved here under an assumed name, posing as a priest, and became a barber, and this was his preferred scissors, which I still have. Anyway, so the reason with the emulation, right, is it's always going to be like this kind of like combination of like, it's really cool, but now it's in this other wacko format midway through. You know, one of the things that the archive does that I think is honestly a good idea is like you can upload a pile of FLACs and we'll convert them to MP3s and other files and make them playable, but we keep the FLACs around, so the FLAC is around even though it's not the easiest format to work with. Well, these things are, I mean, it may seem pretty slow that in however many hours I've done this many, but believe me, this is a nice progress. I am pulling apart many things that have been sitting for a couple weeks in my room and really starting to choke me off again. So when I start FedExing these in batches, probably batches of 6, it'll make a big difference in this room. Like I said, I've got some pretty cool I've got some pretty cool stuff tomorrow. I've got a couple volunteers coming, and I didn't want them to walk into this room and have this room be a ridiculous mess. The way that I lost weight was that initially I went on a low-carb diet, and I started cutting things out along with the low-carb diet. So I was eating meat. I was eating a lot of meat, which probably wasn't great. And then water, meat and water diet. But, the real secret of the low-carb diet is that you basically drop sugar. By getting rid of carbs, it's kind of like a meat cleaver to your sugar intake. So you would meet like no diet, okay? No diet. Almost every diet at some point is going to basically make you stop drinking soda. Because soda's murderous, right? So a lot of them are just going to do that. Make you stop drinking soda, make you stop ingesting sugar cookies and cake and donuts, and you'll start to lose weight if those things were part of your diet. So that's kind of the secret, is stop eating donuts. But then it comes down to like, it helps you get down, but then where do you go from there? So I dropped down to 212 on the low carb from 240. And then when I switched to my current vegan diet, I've gone from 213 down to 202, as low as 200. And part of that is just that I'm not eating a lot of things that I used to eat. I'm getting more sugar in my diet, but a lot less than I used to. and I'm eating a lot of vegetables, and I'm eating a lot less chemicals. But at this point, I think I've hit a wall of like 202, and I'm trying to figure out what to do about it. I'd love to get down to 185, but I think that to do that, I would really have to change my functional lifestyle. I'm not 100% comfortable doing that. Let's see. Let's go with this set. Again, these are just huge layers of cool items. Oh, Heathkit, you knew exactly what to get us for Christmas, didn't you? Yeah, you knew it. You knew, Heathkit. That's all I wanted under my tree. Massive television. Hey, hey, hey. Oh, this is a nice selection. Oh, I'm so sad I'm going to have to pack these away until later. I love, this is like mid-1980s silver, beautiful, shiny terminal documentation. My favorite. Oh, you see, these are all going to be incredible. But again, got to make the hard decisions. Got to pack these things away, deal with them later. Get them out of here. Oh, that does not just fit. I have to do a little bit of smart sorting. Not everything is the right size. Some of them are a little bit bigger. There's something. There's an old thing. Some people here might not even be old enough to remember when there was third-class mail. We don't have third-class mail anymore. We have media mail, but we don't have third class. I'm sure some people would see third class and assume it was some sort of joke. Yep. Any other questions? Let's see. Also, while this is all going on, I've been uploading just an enormous amount of material. That's going on in the background. Again, people can watch me, but I'm more than happy to take this time to answer questions, if there are questions. Otherwise, I will continue to do my packing. Okay, so when a company, like, I can't go too much into the rights issues on terms of games, but suffice to say that companies either completely do not give a shit or extremely give a shit. So when you say, well, maybe do this little half measure for companies that give a shit, the answer is they so don't give a shit, they so give a shit that they will never allow any half measures. So the answer is either they let us do what we're doing, or they don't care, or they're dead. Or they're completely against it 100% in any sort of way, in any sort of access. Nintendo rather famously doesn't even like videos of people playing their games to be up, and will fight them. Oh, come now. My connection in terms of Jason's house is a cable modem. The Internet Archive's connection is, I think it's up to 90 megabits. Might be more. Might be multiple 90 megabits. Something like that. It's fast. We watch it. We try to keep it. Brewster doesn't like to pay for. He has some pretty good deals, but he doesn't want to pay for like insane. Non-used bandwidth, so we have just about enough to keep us going with an occasional overrun instead of paying for it'll never overrun in a million years. Yes, dopefish, gigabits. Yeah, I'll cover this just because we're here. Giggle Gig Tub. Giggle Gig Tub. Is that a good name? Giggle Gig Tub. What brand? Whoa! I was getting, I because I was running some. I was trying to get the heat out of my room. It was helping a little. I was watching it. I'm broadcasting right now, so I'm talking to people. Okay. All right. Anyway, so all right, I'm gonna cover this just because I'm intrigued by this. My favorite part about all of this stuff involving the games and the emulation is when somebody comes to me with a plan. Okay, and by a plan I mean a person comes to me and says, dude, do this. What if you call it this? And what if you arrange it so that it does this, but it doesn't quite? And what you need to understand is it doesn't fucking work. You're like a chess player taking on a mafioso, and you're telling them that's not a valid move on the chessboard, and they're like, I don't know. How about if I break your fucking fingers? Like that's what it is, right? So there's like these companies either come in like super hard, super vicious, super mean. Occasionally they come in to say, help us understand what's going on, and we explain it to them and they do better. Or they never talk to us in a million years. That's it. There's no middle ground. There's no, we had a little conversation, and even though they're not with, even though that company is not a fan of what you're doing, they realize that it's good for history. No, they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. Blizzard never allows anything on the archive, anything, and they got a long memory. Blizzard goes after the Lost Vikings, and if you're like the Lost Vikings, yeah, the Lost Vikings, go look it up. Blizzard protects the Lost Vikings, and Nintendo protects 1978 Nintendo arcade games that nobody's ever heard of that came out that were small run items in Japan. Like, that's what they do. But then, you know, other companies like Beagle Brothers, they're basically out of business. So Bert Kersey doesn't care what we do with it. Like, you know, a lot of these other companies are out of business. They don't care. Atari cares about certain games, but they can't control everything because they're a small, limited form of what Atari used to be. So anyway, just wanted to, you know, a little reality there for you. Anyway, happy to accept other questions. Another box comes, another box goes. I bought 14 of these little boxes. That was my rough estimate of like the maximum this could end up being. So we'll see how that goes. Thank you, Aussie. Thank you, William. Oh, the sweat. Anybody else have any other questions? We have 30 people suffering through this rambly, bitter, and fun stream. You know, I mean, let's be clear, okay? Things are going pretty well for me. I feel, for a guy who had a heart attack, I feel fantastic. And for, you know, the amount of things that are out there and stuff that I've got to work on, I'm feeling great and excited. And I'm feeling energized about how I'm going to approach it. You know, I mean, a lot of stuff is getting done. A lot of things are being completed. It's really nice, actually. So I'm actually in great shape, you know, personality-wise. That's a weird thing to have in here. Okay. All right. Continental Resources. Here's a mini computer and word processing catalog from 1981. A beautiful collection. That's not a very informative page. Let me try to find a more informative page. Oh no, it is literally just that. Oh yeah, there's the most widely used acoustic coupler, now from Continental Supplies. So glad that's being handled. Envelopes that are a little bit too big for this. Try it now. Barely. welded, the 7th and 8th workshops in welded electronic packaging. So this is a workshop about welded electronic packaging. Very exciting. Glad to see that we covered this. There you go. There's the guest lecturers. Beautiful, beautiful pieces. Yes. All men. All men. Have to figure out how to put these larger sized items away. Here's a beautiful, I like that image, economy sized computers. The idea being, see how small it is? It just fits right there. Just a beautiful set to make it look as small and as non-intrusive as possible. I have heard of people using emulated programs and writing remakes and things based on that original code. That's certainly done. A person who knows a lot about that is actually Frank Cifaldi of the Computer History Foundation, or sorry, the Game History Foundation. Frank is an old hand at that. He worked for a group that redid, I believe it was Mega Man. Frank and I are always doing things together these days, making messes. Oh, an analog computer document. Nice. The collection had these dividers, but the dividers are of no use, no help. All right. Here's a whole overview of a very specific tape recorder and reproducer. Have I ever played an MMO? I played a MUD for many years, but no, an MMO, I just never did those. Something about them, I just never got hooked. Never really got hooked. Wasn't my thing. Sorry, I don't have more on that, but I just never got hooked on them. I mean, I played, Destiny. Boy, what a disappointment. What a disappointment. Destiny 2 is coming out now with more disappointment. An RS-232 mini floppy disk system. Sign me up. Okay. Again, I'm trying to pack these things as super tight as I can so they don't bend. They don't get bent. See how that goes. I suspect they're going to need some amount of flattening going forward. Oh, and another box bites the dust, or almost nearly bites the dust. Ooh, that's a nice one. Also good. I'll show it to you in a second. I just have to get a few more things out the door. how to put sound in your color slides, which includes a portrayal of a young girl putting recordings with her slides. I see Max Powers asks, I switched to a vegan. How did I go about it? I stopped eating meat. Stopped eating meat, stopped eating dairy. Kept a positive attitude. Remembered why I was doing it. Instead of feeling that it was put upon me, I did it because I needed to get away from theoretically dangerous lifestyle. I mean, nobody thinks eating lots of meat is great for you. Sometimes there's been a conflation of, freedom. There's certainly an effort on some parts to make, to conflate food and freedom. But I try to avoid doing that. So I don't really think my ability to eat a 32-ounce steak represents my strike of personal independence and happiness. I think we've so I have been given, through everybody's efforts, enough money to make it through to the end of the month, to weather any bills that may have surprised me. Sometimes there are automatically withdrawn bills, like my insurance for my car or the IRS. I have been given enough to get me through. If people want to throw some more, it's always acceptable. I will be using it for valid living. I will not be using it to pay for boxes. I will not be using it to pay for archiving things. I'll be using it for things like my terrible avocado addiction, which is a real thing. I love avocado. I have an avocado or two a day. I have apples. I'll use it to take care of myself. I am now up to 9 boxes, plus the one I'm mailing to my friend. Things are starting to look good over here. I think in another 2 or 3 boxes I'll have essentially demolished this set. Then I have boxes going out to museums that are going, game museums. Now here's the thing, so people have been making this whole joke about avocado on toast and other pieces. I actually just like avocado. That's all I need. I definitely think I've hit, yeah, so there has not been a donation since like 30 minutes ago. All the, let me put a quick update. I'll keep this up a little longer. And all right. Oh, you like my mechanical keyboard? Ooh. Ooh. Love my keyboard. All right. I think I'm ready for yet another box. Yet another box. I'm thinking maybe 3 more of these will clear it out, but I could be wrong. It might be 4. Then I have to see about mailing them. As for an original IBM keyboard versus this I bought this keyboard. It's called DOS keyboard. I bought it because it was very specifically designed to be like a modern rebuilding of like an IBM mechanical keyboard. So that's why I have it. I don't really need vintage anything. This thing has a USB hub. It connects through USB. There's no trickery. It works. It's powerful. It's functional. It's good. I saw that stream weirdness myself. I don't know what that was. All right. Let's convert this box over. Here's a good set. Big. The rest of them should just slip in. Yeah. Excellent. Again, lots of dividers that don't really classify anything. Woo! See, that emptied this box, and it didn't even barely dent into that box, so that's good. Like this IBM one, I'm gonna have to stick it along the side. It's too big. Let's see what's in it. Yeah, it's this beautiful overview of dealing with data processing with an overview of, like, you know, what's interesting, I guess, if you want to get all ridiculous, is the portrayal of the obvious white collar class doing a blue collar class job. It's a way to make them feel that they themselves are imbued with the honest hard work of the blue collar worker, even though they sit behind a desk and tell other people what to do. So, don't want to get political or anything. Call me crazy. I'm one of those people who thinks that sitting around pointing out the execution and underlying cause of privilege is itself a privilege. So anyway, doesn't matter to me though. All that matters to me, honestly, is this particular stuff that you're seeing me deal with here is I'm just ingesting the data as fast as possible, and I'm trying to make it available to as wide an audience as possible, as aggressively as possible, and with as few limits as possible. That way, people can derive their own value and their own judgments and their own work from it without having to wait for some idiotic gatekeeper in an arcade t-shirt to tell them it's time for them to have an opinion. So people will listen to a bunch of books that I put up or books on tape, and then they'll derive some conclusions. I don't have to be the one who walks them through that conclusion. I'll just put it all up there and let them come up with their opinions. Like that's kind of where I work from. Oh, here's an item I'm going to throw out. Yep. So this is a Apple II floppy binder. All of the floppies have been removed. The plastic is now grunged up enough that putting discs into it will get them stuck inside, as it was trying to remove them. And for some reason it was located inside one of my boxes. It's gone. So there's an example of throwing something out. It's just, it's dangerous, it doesn't do its function, its data has been pulled out, everything's fine. Does anybody else have any questions? Thank you, Brendan. As fast as possible, as fast as possible, as fast as possible, as fast as possible. Boom, 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 boom. I want here into your face. Into your face. That's important to me. Oh, here's a collection that I had where I was starting to put them into these boxes, even though these boxes are not really appropriate for shipping. I get it. So here's an example of like what else, an unusual thing. This, you'll see this and you're like, wow, what beautiful 1960s era artwork, what beauty. And this is actually for American seating, serving the people. And you go like, what do you mean American seating? This is literally a company that makes seating, makes stuff for classrooms and churches and hospitals. They have layouts explaining all the important work they do, the scientific research, them showing a beautiful shot of a classroom and their amazing seating, even the making of pews and train seats. What a beautiful thing. I'm going to set this one aside because I think I'm going to actually digitize it, because it's pretty easy to do. It's easy to do one. It's not easy to do 1,000. This picture is your 1,000 words. I would assume I now open it and it's even bigger. Oh, interesting. It's not ironic. Why can't my Macintosh remember? Interesting. Yeah, the IBM document is a little nightmare in there. All right. Can I get one more pile in there and clear that box out? The answer is not really. I can do a few of them, but I can't do all of them. But it will clear this box out. Good. I'm not going to bore everybody with my opinion on politics. I'm just going to say that I'm very happy that I work for a place that is making an active part of saving history and keeping things that are removed safe. And that's kind of how I get through the day. Knowing that the Internet Archive is spending so much of its time saving thousands upon thousands of pages and terabytes and terabytes of data for later. I think that's very powerful, and I'm glad to be a part of that. So that works for me. I think, we let like a 1860s, 1850s era president in, a real I just kind of got in and I don't quite have it together and it's not my area, but I'm gonna muddle through because I've always muddled through. And the muddling through is starting to really land with some people very poorly, although others seem to think that it's great, which just tells you, now you understand why they give such explicit instructions at amusement parks, because you can't assume everybody knows don't stand up in the roller coaster, because apparently some people like to stand up in the roller coaster. So, a lot of standing up in the roller coaster. Oh, you like my talk about suicide? Yeah, no, that was a fun talk to give. I've actually given it twice. I wanted to do something special at Hope. So I gave a standard archiving talk, which is what I got on, I registered as, and then I just gave it very quickly and threw it on the audience. So that's a good talk. Huh. I see the stream stopped for a moment. So I don't know why the stream goes away and then comes back again, but it's doing it occasionally. Aw. Someone named Aaron sent me some money and said, "You don't know me, but I'm glad you exist." Which is like the world's nicest Valentine, isn't it? All right. So, I would be interested if anybody else has anything else they want to ask me, as I'll start to think about wrapping this up, unless people want more. I mean, it's 2 hours. 2 hours is quite more than enough for me. If there's things that people want to talk about or want to ask me, this would be a really good time to do it. I'll be more than happy. Best way to make sure a certain FTP is being saved on the archive is probably to go to the archive team channel on IRC and ask people if it's being saved or if it's gone through already. We're always trying to save FTP sites as fast as we can. That would be probably the easiest way to do it. Trying to think if there's any other, that's probably the easiest way. And then we'll take a global grab of it and shove it into the Wayback Machine as a big WARC, which means it can be played back again with all the info. Is there any project in Europe or Germany? No, not for me. I mean, not that I interact with on any particular basis. I mean, there's lots of cool retro computing work being done in Germany. I visited their Computerstelle in Berlin. I thought that was a really amazing building. They did some really good work. I have sat in the room with all of the Internet Archive Canada machines. I don't know if they are on their way to Canada yet or not, but I will tell you that they absolutely exist. It's like $1 million something of equipment sitting there, all ready to go with a backup of the Wayback Machine up to like 2016, and it's gonna go, and it's gonna be amazing. So it's almost done, or at least it's almost there. Maybe we're just I'm not really privy to like a lot of the negotiations. Maybe we're trying to get the best deal or the longest deal with the right data center, and we're just being careful. I don't know. I wouldn't be privy to that, but that would be my assumption. So yeah, the IA Canada thing is definitely happening. Here's a weird one. Here is the March 8th, 1977 National Enquirer. So this is, big old cigarette head on the back. Lots of, it's funny because it's, just full of crazy crap. I haven't figured out how to, maybe I'll put those on the bottom of one of these boxes. It'll fit. Let's see. Again, like I said, it's looking like maybe 2 more of these will put us over the top. Maybe 3. And then I'll have them transferred to a different box, and then I have to set up, I'm setting up a FedEx run. Somebody else will be covering that. I'm working on 2 more documentaries, 6502 and Arcade, and after that, I am done with documentaries. I don't want to make them anymore. They're too time-consuming, and I'm too old. I'll give advice to others, but I will not do it. I don't have the energy, and I don't have the time. I'm at a point in my life where I should not be personally doing things. I should be guiding and educating others and working with others to help them make things. I don't have the ability to sleep overnight in my car in the middle of a neighborhood because I have to interview somebody at 8 a.m. I don't have the time to drive for a week from place to place doing interviews. I'm done. So I'll be very excited when I'm finished with these two and I can stop thinking about documentaries. I'll still have some nice equipment. I might film some things or record some things, but I'm not going to do documentaries to the level that I think people would expect of me. Well, I mean, there's items, in terms of like, are there any items that are special to me in this room or in the collection? I have like my first computer. That matters to me. I have some books that were written by friends. Those matter to me. But that's what I mean, you know, that's my own thing, right? That's me saying I really, you know, this matters to me as a personal person, like my own collection. But I don't have, I mean, there's so many beautiful things in this collection. I'm not really partial or preference to one or two particular ones. See, like, so this is a particularly moldy and disgusting one. So I'm actually packing it extremely loose and putting it away just to get them out of the world. Ugh. Woo, it's hot. If anybody got to listen to the fun, that was my brother. I live with my brother. We're both doing major cleanups for the summer, and so we're cranking each other off because we're all both hotheads, and we're both working on getting our lives together and getting things cleaned up. And so as a result, we're both like, get out of my way, I'm working on this. And that's just brothers. He's 1 year younger than me. He does not work in computers at all. Yeah, so it's a little bit, I wouldn't say wasteful, but I'm just going to leave this like this because I think these are too weird and broken because they were particularly on the edge of like, maybe there's interesting stuff in here, and I felt bad about throwing them out, but they were moldy. So I'm going to leave the mold to live with the mold. Boop. After my heart attack, what was the first thing I wanted to change in my life? I had a bunch of open projects, and I didn't, like, there's stuff that, like, yeah, I mean, like, there's, like, a lot of software sitting at the Internet Archive that I collected and put into boxes and are ready to go. Somebody will take that and they will do something with it. But then there was a whole bunch of other stuff that was kind of like, is this important? Why would we want it? I knew why, but nobody else did. It had secret aspects to it where I'm like, oh, you should know that it does this. This is why. So I quickly moved, and I have quickly moved to close down and get rid of any projects that are not self-evident. Where it's like, why is this thing sitting in your home directory? I'm just going to go, oh, that was all meant to go up into the archive. Oh, what's this thing? Oh, these were just temporary files. Oh, what's this thing? You know, so that's the biggest thing I did was I got rid of a whole bunch of things that were like, oh, I'm assuming somebody will eventually figure this out. I took that away. So it's actually, even now it's easier to go through my things, but one of the side effects is I'm utterly killing off projects that don't make any sense or that don't, like, there's no reason. Like, for instance, and I mean, this is one thing I had been negotiating for some time, is I have like 9 CRT televisions, and I'm going to give those to a museum who's going to use them for video art. So, you know, I have a bunch of games. They're going to a games museum. I have a bunch of computers. They're going to a computer group. You know, I want it that people after me will have to deal with a relatively small number of confusing, not sure what this is stuff, instead of a dominating, impossible to decode pile of garbage. So I'm working very, 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 very quickly to get things back to a state where all of my personal possessions fit in the back of a 10-foot truck or less. That's my current form, my current approach. So that's going on right now. That's what you're experiencing. That's what you're witnessing here. Another one down. For anybody who needs numbers or quantities, this has not been gone through, this box. This box and items sitting on it have not been gone through. And then this box have not been gone through. So here are the 3 things that I'm going to convert to these boxes. Everything else is, that's going away. That's just some stuff I took out of my car. Those are 2 Apple II projects. I think I'm going to have it be pretty clean in here tonight. So I'm looking pretty good. Synthesizer Man, these are going to the Internet Archive. I'm giving a talk in, I've already given a talk in Montreal. That's going to come out in the next 2 weeks. Yeah. All right, I think I'm going to start to close this up. More people sent money in. Thanks, Foon. Thanks, Jonathan. Thanks so much. Thanks, Neil. Everybody here has really helped me. This has given me enough to get by, and that matters a lot to me. I don't need that kind of stress on me. So the money is already being transferred from PayPal to my bank account, so that if I pay the IRS right now, every once in a while I pay my car insurance. Those all get pulled out, and I can't stop them. So, yeah. I'm giving some talk in the Netherlands in October. I'm going to be spending a month in Austria. I'm performing. I'm acting in a feature film that's being filmed in September. There'll be more details about that after it's solidified. It has an IMDb entry with me in it, but to be honest, I know internally that they are seeking additional funding to have appropriate amounts of levels of funding. And so I know that the call date is like June 14th or something, and then they will say, we're a go, and then I know what I'm doing in September. That's also why my beard is getting bigger, because my character needs a huge beard. So by September, I expect to have a ridiculous beard. And you're like, Jason, what kind of film is it? Is it a technical documentary? No, it's a historical musical in which I am singing along with the rest of the cast. Yeah. Life's never boring. Again, thanks to everybody for sticking around for 2 hours. It was very enjoyable. Maybe I'll do another one of these at some point soon. I'm sure I'll give an update of pictures after all this stuff is gone. But my plan is to have this all gone sooner rather than later. All right, I'm going to go stand outside where it's cool and just hope that I can kill this drenching sweat. No plan to go to Germany at the moment unless someone flies me out there. Go talk to your convention organizers, people. Bye-bye. Thank you so much again. I'm reachable on Twitter as Text Files, of course, which is how you found this. And I'll talk to you all later. Bye-bye.